I've realised I've gotten more annoying as I've gotten older. When I was younger, I really tried my hardest not to be annoying, and now I don't really care. And the way I know that is now when my friends tell me stories about annoying guys they've encountered, I don't get angry for them or annoyed for them. I just get jealous of the annoying guy. And the best example of this was a mate of mine last year. Her headphones broke, like the cord snapped on one of the sides of her headphones. And she ordered a guy off AirTasker to come around, and he said he could solve together. So this guy comes around, she pays him $50. He goes into the kitchen where the headphones are with a little soldering gun, and he tries for 10 minutes, can't do it, messes it up even worse, comes back into the living room where she is, without asking, sees she has a guitar, picks it up, sits down on her couch, starts singing Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. And my friend's telling me this, like, can you believe this annoying guy? And I'm just jealous of the confidence. To advertise a service, take money for the service, fuck up the service, and then sing Wish You Were Here while making eye contact with someone who wishes more than anything that you would die. Bit of a numbers update, we're up to 3. Not too bad, oh yeah. The most annoying I've ever been probably happened last year. Last year I lived with my sister in an apartment, and she was moving overseas, so I needed to find a new place. And I went to some inspections, I started making rental applications, and I found that whole process quite annoying. One of the most annoying things about the rental application process was how many references you need to provide. You often need to provide 3 with every application. You need a reference from your landlord, presumably to prove you're a good tenant. One from your employer, presumably to prove that you have money. And one personal reference to prove you're a good friend, in case the landlord needs emotional support during the tenancy. And so that was all a bit annoying, and I made a few applications, and then I got approved for an apartment. I still had 6 weeks before I needed to move out though, and this one was a bit small. I thought maybe I could do better, so I found myself in a unique position where I could mess with a real estate agent. They've screwed me over with the ants and stuff like that before. I'm like, let's have a crack. So I replied to the approval email just saying, could you please send through a reference for the landlord from a previous tenant of theirs? I've proved I'm a good tenant with some references. Let's now see some proof that the landlord is a good person. And the real estate agent responded with this. They said, the owner does not wish to contact the previous tenants, and it is not a requirement. Fair enough. All the best with your property search. I'm like, all the best with the property search. I've been approved for this place. But then a minute later, I received this, withdrawn. Dear Tom, we've received advice from you indicating your application has been withdrawn. This message is to confirm we've actioned your request. I didn't make any requests, so I think Stephanie, the real estate agent, has logged into the software as me and cancelled my approval. And I remember looking at this being like, oh my God, I thought they'd say no. I didn't think they'd just immediately cancel the approval. What if I can't find a new place? I could have really screwed over my life here, but I pushed down my emotions, I composed myself, and I did what you're meant to do in these situations. I posted it on social media. And believe it or not, within 24 hours, there were news stories about this occurrence. The ABC did one, the renter who asked for his landlord's references. Daily Mail got involved. They said Aussie bloke has his rental application shot down. By the way, the first time in my life, and probably the last, that I will ever be referred to as an Aussie bloke. As a bit of a sidebar, a lot of media organisations in Australia, and some overseas, covered this story. The only one to check with me that any of it was real was the ABC. One of the first things they did was email me saying, oh, can you forward the emails that you had with the real estate agent to prove you didn't just make all this up in Photoshop? And I said, sure, and forwarded it through. Every other media organisation that ran with it was like, a comedian said it on TikTok. That sounds like a fact to me. And just... it was on TV. I'm like, I know for a fact none of these people have checked with me. The Daily Mail journalist, I spent an hour talking to a guy from the Daily Mail, 50 minutes of which was him complaining about his current landlord. In the 10 minutes dedicated to me, he was asking me all these really personal questions, which I think they pad out their articles with specific stuff for like search engine optimization purposes. But he was asking me like what my rent was with my sister, what my rent would have been at the apartment that I applied for and then got knocked back from. He asked me what my address was, all this stuff that I wasn't comfortable sharing, but I also didn't want to get into an argument with him. So I just lied. And he printed all of it. So it's not a controversial statement, but don't trust what you read in the Daily Mail. Lad Bible did a story. The lads. The Lad Bible called me a man. Do you know how affirming that is for someone's masculinity? Could be the highlight of the whole thing, to be honest. The Age did a story, and yes, not the best photo. I'm not sure if they were deliberately searching for the one where I looked most like a pervert, but... if they were, they have nailed that. But this is where the language started to change. This one says, Tom Cashman is looking to start a trend that could revolutionise the rental market. Like, I don't know if that was necessarily my intention. I was just bored on a Tuesday and was trying to annoy one specific real estate agent because I could. But this is when I started getting messages calling me a hero. People were saying, you're a David fighting the Goliath. That is the real estate industry. People were messaging me being like, I stand with you in protest. I'm like, I don't know if I stand in protest, but thank you. But in case you were wondering, here's a graph showing people calling you a hero for something you did as a joke over time. As you can see, for the first 5 days, I was like, oh, this is all a bit much. But on day 6, I was like, I am a hero. I remember where I was too. I was at a pub on day 6 talking to a friend, and I found myself saying, if I can convince more people to ask for landlord references, it could become vaguely expected in the marketplace. And if it becomes expected in the marketplace, it could legitimately reduce the power imbalance that exists between tenants and landlords. And he was like, why are you talking like this? Weren't you joking? And I said, yeah, but I think it came to me because I subconsciously sensed injustice. Those are real words that came out of my mouth. Absolutely disgusting stuff. I don't feel like a hero though, you know, like I don't have big dick energy. I don't have big dick energy, but I do get bad diarrhea easily, so that's still pretty cool. That's actually the context in which I felt most like a hero years ago. Is in regards to small penis prejudice. And I've got you, brother. But if you don't believe it's a thing, I'd ask you to think back 15 years. You're not all going to remember this, but particularly the Australians, I reckon you will. About 15 years ago, the Australian government were experiencing an issue with speeding on the nation's roads. Yeah. They decided to engage a television campaign to combat this very serious issue. Did they interview experts about speeding? Did they talk to victims? Did they talk about how easy it is to speed without realising you're doing it? No, they didn't take any of those approaches. Instead, the thrust of the campaign was that if you speed, you've got a small dick, fuck you. Do you remember this? It was just a bunch of women with their pinkies out being like, that's your penis. That's your penis, you idiot. You do a criminal act, you get a criminally small penis. We're the government, by the way. That's your dick. That's your stupid dick. I just remember being like 15 years old, watching that on TV at home, being like, that's actually pretty big. I need to get into speeding. Are you kidding? You go fast, you look cool, your dick doubles in size. Do you remember this ad, though? Yeah, thank you. It's a real thing. Is that why we pay taxes? I work hard, I give some of my money to the government for them to make expensive videos about how my penis is ridiculous. I looked this up more recently. This is a real ad that happened years ago. I looked it up, and what I'm about to say is true. You can look it up too. That campaign, that You've Got a Stupid Little Penis campaign, is the most successful road safety campaign in Australia's history. Road deaths plummeted, speeding rates plummeted, so now when I go home with a girl, I get naked, I say, yes, it may be small, but think how many lives it saved. The point is that my dick is the hero. That's a graphic. That's just the legend there. And the other legend there. And if anyone's worried, this should reassure you. This is a graph of the penis-based material in the show. So it's almost over, and that's when it became too much. Because it looks a bit... Yep, you get it. Good. But it was weird being in the media in this positive light when pretty much the opposite thing happened to me about 6 months before that, right? So this is a true story. About 6 months before the landlord reference thing, I lived with my sister, as I said, and she was busy with work and exams, and I thought as a nice treat for her, I'll get a cleaner to do a good clean of the apartment we lived in, right? So I booked a cleaner online, cleaner comes around, I showed them the apartment, and then I left. I didn't tell them anything about the household rubbish. I didn't think about that. I probably should have. But basically what happened, unbeknownst to me, is the cleaners took the household rubbish, they went into the street in front of the apartment building. They couldn't find the big bins, so they just left the trash on the street, which is bad, right? I want to acknowledge that's bad. That's annoying for the neighbours. Look, that I want to acknowledge that is bad and annoying for the neighbours. In terms of how annoying, on the people eating tuna at work spectrum, I'd put it at about 7 people eating tuna at work. It's still medium on the police sex with dog spectrum. That's not because it's involved in this story, but just based on the meme from earlier, we can only assume it's still going on. So I think that's important to reflect in the data. But so I didn't know about that. I got back and the apartment was clean, paid the cleaners online, went about my week. And about a week later, I received an envelope in the mail addressed to me, and there were 3 pieces of paper in this envelope. The first piece of paper was that photo. The second piece of paper was this photo of another envelope addressed to me. So what's happened is someone's gone through the trash, found an envelope with my name on it and been like, this guy's the culprit. The third piece of paper in the envelope is a letter, typed out letter addressed to me. It's not just any letter, it is the most psychotic letter you will ever see in your life, I guarantee. It starts out pretty polite and nice, but let's just say it takes a little bit of a turn. I'll show you some of it. It starts out saying, the attached photos show 5 messy, unpleasant, smelly, split and leaking bags of household garbage dumped in Barkham Avenue, Darlinghurst. They also show the garbage contains correspondence addressed to you from ComSec and AFX, which means the garbage is most likely yours. If so, what a total cunt you are. A total cunt. A moronic, antisocial, subhuman, irresponsible Neanderthal with no concept of acceptable community behaviour. No doubt you live like a pig too, with social habits to match. P.U. What a stink you must leave wherever you go. My favourite part of this is the if so. Because it's like, if so, you're a subhuman Neanderthal. If not, good on you. I don't know. Sorry about this intense letter. So I remember reading this. I'm like, oh my God, this guy knows my name. He knows where I live. He's very angry. I'm going to die. He's going to kill me tomorrow. But I pushed down my emotions. I composed myself. And I did what you're meant to do in these situations. I posted it on social media. And journalists got in touch about this as well. Believe it or not as many as the landlord reference thing, but still a few. And you can see why. It's pretty good clickbait. It's the most psychotic letter I've ever seen. But I had a decision to make in terms of whether to talk to these journalists, right? Because on the one hand, it doesn't make me look very good, this story. I should have told the cleaners not to put the trash on the street, and it makes me look bad. But on the other hand, I wanted to get back at this guy. This guy clearly lives near me. He didn't sign off on the letter. I don't know who he is. I thought maybe if I go to the press, he'll think twice about doing this to someone else. And as you could predict, it backfired on me. It backfired hard. I spoke to a few journalists. The first headline of the first article that came out about this was the headline: Sydney comedian Tom Cashman sent deranged note. It makes it sound like I sent it. The second one isn't much better. Subhuman man receives. Makes it seem like Yahoo News agrees that I'm the subhuman. Even worse, if you Googled my name at the time, the top result was that I sent a deranged note. So in the space of 6 months, when I was trying to be annoying, I was called a hero. When I was trying to be nice, I was called a stinky pig, subhuman Neanderthal. But it's okay, because that benefits my reputation, and that is funny. So I got kicked out of that first apartment, but I still had 6 weeks to look for a new apartment, so I wasn't too worried, if I'm honest, and I kind of dilly-dallied. And then I started speaking with a friend of mine about potentially moving into a 2-bedroom place, and then we dilly-dallied, and then I left it until I had a week left before I needed to move out from the place with my sister. And then we started frantically going to inspections, me and my friend, on the Monday and Tuesday. On the Monday morning, we went to one that we liked. We immediately made an application, and that afternoon, I got a text from the real estate agent at this new place. He says, "Can you send me a bank statement?" I said, "Sure, I've just emailed you one." He said, "Sending the apps to the owner. Any requests before I send it off?" I said, "Sounds good, thanks. None I can think of." That's when he says, "Are you going to ask me for a landlord reference?" I'm like, great. I'm famous amongst real estate agents for being the most annoying tenant there ever was. Perfect. Then I thought maybe he's just joking around. He was a younger guy. I met him at the inspection. I'm like, maybe he's just joshing. So I'll reply in a jovial way. I'm like, ha ha ha, no, that has not worked out well for me in the past. Of course, if the landlord has one lying around, I wouldn't mind having a peek. I'm just trying to be funny. He goes, ah ha ha, no worries. I thought that was a good sign. He checked I was legitimately interested in the property, which is fair enough. I said I was, and he says, no problem, we should have approval shortly. I'm like, hell yeah, that's a good sign. The next morning, we received this: congratulations. Dear Thomas, and I've blocked out my friend's name, but let's just say, we're up to 4. Congratulations, you've been approved for tenancy. I'm like, fantastic, we've got a place. Last minute, I called the real estate agent. He says, congratulations. We arrange a time the next day for me to come and pick up the keys. I'm like, perfect, saga over. But that afternoon, I received this. Unsuccessful. Good afternoon, Thomas. Strange turn of events. The owner has decided not to proceed with your application. I've asked for a reason why. They've told me we would like to continue our search. I've done my best to convince them, but their decision is final. I'm very sorry for this outcome. I'm looking at this. I've got 3 days now before I need to move out of my old place. I'm like, it was funny before. It's not funny now. I'm going to have to move in with my dad or something. I've completely screwed over my life here, but I pushed down my emotions. I composed myself. And I did what you're meant to do in these situations. I posted it on social media. And there are articles about this too. News.com got involved. Daily Mail did one saying there was a bizarre twist in the landlord reference saga. And as I was looking for a new apartment, I was doing multiple interviews with different journalists, and I pretty much said the same thing to all of them. I said, it's clear what's happened here. The landlord at this new place has done a last-minute Google of my name, and they've seen that I'm a David who fights the Goliath. That is the real estate agency, and they don't like that I'm a rental rights advocate, and they don't want me under their roof. And it's only occurred, I'm on record saying that to multiple journalists. It only occurred to me months after that if you Googled my name at the time, still one of the top results, that I sent a deranged note over a rubbish dispute. Like, I thought the landlord was looking at this being like, this guy is my political adversary. When it's quite likely they were looking at this and thinking, this guy is a stinky, stinky pig. This guy's an extremely stinky pig.